Ladies and gentlemen, it's time. We're back. Day after show is back. Goose is back. Tour is happening. It's all very, very exciting. Very, very, very exciting. Neil, how are you?
I'm excited. I'm excited, and also trying to post this thing on Facebook at the same time.
Two things to
Um,
do. But yeah,
Two things to
you're
do.
you're on your way down here right now.
I'm on my way. I'm hanging out in the Dunkin' Donuts parking lot right now,
Yep.
and yeah, man, I'm just counting the minutes until I get there, and I'm pretty stoked to be
Pretty
back at the
stoked.
Cap. And it's
I am
like to see
too.
you, of course, because you're
Of
going to be there.
course. I'm excited to see you as well. It's going to be
Yeah.
great. Tonight's going to be fun. But of course, we are here to talk about last night. We've got a couple of special guests who were at the show as well, who will be on in just a few minutes. But before we get started, a word from our sponsor. We do have a very exciting new sponsor for Spring Tour. We've got Beekeepers Naturals. Powered by nature and obsessively tested, Beekeepers uses potent ingredients like propolis, pollen, and royal jelly, and as importantly, steers clear of added chemicals. In a day and age we want to boost our immune system, Beekeepers Naturals has many products from lozenges to gut health supplements to support us and tap into the magic of nature. Personally, I don't leave home without one of their propolis throat sprays, especially supportive for a 5-night run of Goose shows. And of course, you can use code STORMSOUND at checkout for 20% off your order at beekeepersnaturals.com. Very exciting. We're now in big propolis.
Yeah, big bees.
Big bees.
Moving on from big mushroom, I guess.
Yes, exactly. So without further ado, we're going to bring... Oh, yes, Ryan Legvold brings up a great point. Nice air freshener.
Yeah, it's this is actually unintentional. Like I'm not like actually showing this off. It's just the way I have this set up. But of course, we have Trevor on this side and we have Goose on the other.
There we go. Well, without
love
further ado, let's bring our guests on. We've got Josh and we've got Steve and Chris, who are just in the car. Seems like their connection's a little bit rocky right now, but should stabilize soon. So we'll start with you, Josh. How are you?
Fantastic. Wednesday, great start. I'm doing tonight and Friday, so just they left some good meat on the bone, and I'm ready for night two.
Awesome. Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you on today. We're excited. A lot of dates this spring, a lot of new people to get to talk to about Goose. So thanks for being here. Steve and Chris, what about you guys? How are you?
Doing well. We're actually, we wish we were doing tonight and Friday as well, but we are back already in Buffalo, New York from our trek last night down to Fort Chester for the show.
Nice. So you live closer to my neck of the woods.
That's right.
Yeah, good. Well, glad you guys made it home, but we're ready to dive in to some last night's show. So let's start with you, Josh. Talk about kind of your experience getting to the Cap, for the first night of the run, getting in line, getting in the venue. Whereabouts were you?
We showed up not too far after doors opened at 7, and first time in a while there hasn't been a long ass line to get into a Goose show. So that was nice. Got in pretty quick. Merch line was crazy.
Yeah.
So haven't picked up my new swag yet, but yeah, I mean the venue's awesome. Tons of good space. Posted up, got our spot Peter's side, and just kind of rode the wave from there.
Already nice. Steve and Chris, what about you guys?
Yeah, super good, and like a stark contrast to like the getting in versus the Glens Falls show where we were outside in the line for like probably an hour, and this one we kind of the same thing. We walked right up and right through the doors, got our spot immediately. It was really seamless and easy, and yeah, great venue.
Yeah, whereabouts were you guys in the venue last night?
Trevor's side, but right near the soundboard.
Oh, nice. So you were just on the other side of the soundboard from where I was. I was Peter's side, right at the front of the soundboard. My favorite spot in the venue. Of course, in a venue like this where there are no seats. In an arena-sized venue, I have a different favorite spot. But Peter's side is where I gravitate to. It was packed in there last night, but it didn't feel uncomfortable for pretty much all the show. Like I felt it got a little warm at times, a little squishy, but people weren't aggressive. It was very nice crowd. Neil, what about you? What was your couch tour setup like last night?
I was just sitting on the couch, and then trying to update the set list thread, despite just a barrage of messages from people trying to mess me up.
It's part of the fun.
Yeah,
we like
and
to
then,
in one of our various group chats. We like to have some fun with whoever is on set list thread duty for that night. So it's me tonight, which will be a lot of fun. But yeah, we like to, throw out the wrong song or just generally screw with them.
and on that note, we can kind of transition to talking about the show if you don't mind. Because I think everybody didn't know what was going on when this show began, and I was responsible for the set list thread and getting hazed mercilessly. And man, was that nerve-wracking. I was sweating. Like, I should have enjoyed that more because it was really, really cool. But the whole time I was just like, what on earth is this right now? Is this a new song? Josh, before we started the show, you had mentioned it felt very Thatchy. And that's what we were saying kind of like in our group chat. Like, is this like leading into Thatch? But yeah, man, what a way to open the show. This kind of finishing of Electric Avenue from Okeechobee.
I didn't even realize that Electric Avenue was unfinished either. Josh, what was your reaction to this opening?
I mean, I thought it was a great opener. Just, starting a 5-night run. I mean, we're obviously trying to call our shot, and it's just so hard to think what the perfect opener would be. So coming in with just a great jam. I thought it was a great way to start it. I also am just sitting there racking my head like, what is this? But at the same time, I thought the jam was great. And great start to the show.
Mm-hmm. Steve and Chris, you guys?
Well, Chris actually ducked out, so it's just me by my lonesome right now. But yeah, I agree. I wondered in our drive down yesterday, like how it was gonna shake out if they were actually gonna start with Electric Avenue, because I had noticed the animal corollary from Mexico to Okeechobee, and I was like, haven't noticed that before with ending, taking the closer or encore as it were, and then making it the opener. So I wasn't sure if that would happen. Then when they did it, I was like, was that intentional or whatever? Because I too didn't know that it was unfinished.
Mm-hmm. And so that's an interesting thing to look at, ending the last show, because that's something that they're not going to do very often, because obviously they don't repeat shows or songs in back-to-back shows for the most part, unless there's like a month gap or it's like different tours, what have you. But I like this. I thought there was definitely a little bit of an Into the Mist vibe to what they were doing as well. What discouraged me from predicting that was the fact that Peter wasn't wearing his guitar. Right. I was wondering also if they were doing a thing kind of like the Cincy Arcadia, where they were just doing a jam that was eventually going to drop into the beginning of the song, which would be cool. But, we got 20 seconds of Electric Avenue after 7 minutes of a really cool jam. So it was a pretty great way to open the show.
Agreed.
Yes. And then right into the meat immediately with this All I Need. And obviously the crowd goes wild for All I Need as a song. It's such a great tune always, and the jams deliver. We haven't had kind of a huge All I Need since last summer. I think that the last really improvisationally significant one was Chrysalis, if I remember correctly. I could be. Oh, no, I lied. To Goose. I forgot about the Trey one. Yep. But this was a really amazing jam. It hit like all sides of the spectrum. That first really like dark and eerie segment reminded me kind of a similar jam from the Nash Cakes last year. But I loved the way they immediately dove back into the darkness. Remember like a year ago around this time when this was the norm? We're going back to that.
Love it. I mean, we talked about that with Peter when he was on the pod. I will take Trevor plodding through my nightmares any day, and that is what that was. That plodding bass line that he does, which does sound a lot like the Nashville Pancakes from about this time last year, was just absolutely killer. And I think, when I was watching this, I just couldn't believe they dove in right away, just to heavy improv, especially after, fall tour, which it felt like the improv was kind of disparate and like not as consistent. So I was very, very, very excited to hear this jam and this approach to this jam, because they tried several different things in this. It wasn't just like they found a thing and they're like, oh, we're going to do a little bit of the darkness. Like, I mean, this went a lot of different places. There was a lot of different like styles, I guess, of jamming. So I don't know. Really, really enjoyed this one.
Yeah. What did you guys think of the All I Need?
I think that was really it set up a theme for the night. As it relates to Neil, like what you just said with improvising and trying out different things. I'll be honest, this is only I'm a newbie, unfortunately. This is only my second Goose show. I've listened to them for a long, long time now, but only the second time I got to see them. And
that doesn't make your opinions any less valid, just for the record.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. But no, but just to say that I've not seen, it's my first experience seeing them improv this heavy and from early on in the show too.
Right. Josh, what about you?
Yeah. Looking at my notes from the show, which, tail off, they tail off towards, the second half, but, yeah, I mean, they got so deep into it, right away. And then really came out in this high, like funky, jam. There was that one part where I think Peter was on the organ, just trading licks with
that, like bluesy kind of deal.
With Rick.
Awesome.
Really good.
And I was like, this is what I'm here for right now. They're like talking to each other back and forth. Like that was so cool to see. And of course, it sounded great. So that's kind of my how long? What did that?
It was around 20, I think.
20.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, and we got teased with like 3 whole seconds of second jam.
Yes.
Like they did.
I don't know if you all picked up on that there, but yeah.
Spuds started playing. Oh no, the room erupted. Like the crowd went nuts for like 3 seconds, and then they abandoned it. And like there was like
Yes,
I have it on good authority that they did that on purpose.
Yeah, that second jam. I think we all were really excited to be finally getting that second jam, especially after finding out that the last time they did like the second part of the jam was totally a mistake. Right.
2 times ago.
Well, 2 times ago. Yeah, I mean, that was hilarious. And also pretty cool that the band was like trying to have fun with us. Right.
Yeah. They know.
Pretty neat.
Yeah. I was like, Peter, you son of a bitch. Like you know exactly what you're doing here.
He knew exactly what he was doing. Yeah, no doubt.
That was great. But we got, nice little run first set tunes here. We got Dr. Darkness, Butterflies, Jive 2. My first Butterflies and my first Jive 2. Very, very, very excited to get both of these songs, as well as Dr. Darkness, which I love. Breaking long gaps on each of them. Jive 2 was at like a 21 show gap, if you can believe it. And Butterflies was only a few less than that, I think. But both of these are great songs. Trevor stepping out with this bass solo in Jive 2. Man. Like I can't decide who my MVP of last night was. It might be Trevor. He was out front the whole night, leading jams, and they gave him a solo there, rightly so. And he teased Earthling or Alien in Jive 2, and then Jive 2 in Earthling or Alien. So
I didn't hear that first tease. I have to go back and listen to that, but I guess we have on good authority that he did.
And then someone told me it was there, and I went back and listened to it, and it's there.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, during Peter's solo. But anyway, Josh, this kind of middle of the first set run here.
Yeah, I mean, first time for me, all 3 of those. So, nice. It's almost like they know I'm there. They've just been hitting me with first time plays left and right. But yeah, it was, after the All I Need, Dr. Darkness, almost like the perfect kind of landing pad. And, Butterflies was cool. Peter sounded great. And then my first Jive. So, got the funk in there, having a good time. That was, to me, it was a great mid-set run there.
For sure.
Steve.
I was going to say same thing. It was really, I like how they spaced out kind of their jam heavy stuff from, it wasn't too lopsided. They did a nice job of curating the set as they usually do from my perspective. But what was my buddy Chris was saying, what he would have said if he was still here right now was that he was like glued to Trevor and Ben the whole night. Like the like on fire, it seemed, every song. They were super tight, just pulling things out of left field. And like you said, there was a lot of teases from Trevor or things that, like, he seemed to just kind of, I don't know. He's just a really talented guy. So he was fixating. We were on his side, so that's part of it. But it was like you couldn't take your eyes off him. He doesn't even move, and he has this style and this flair without any sort of outward movement. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, on that note, just talking about Trevor, I have noticed, and it'd be interesting if we can actually get this information from him, but his tone sounds a little bit different. Like, he occasionally last year kind of had that really wet bass sound.
Like the envelope filter, yeah.
With the envelope filter, but like, I mean, that was present almost the whole entire night last night, but like just a little bit. He's got
a new rig. Like I noticed, like the speaker cabinets behind him, he's got more, and I think they're bigger, maybe. But definitely a contributing factor to this new sound. Rick, obviously, his tone was crazy last night. I love the way he sounded. He's got all three of his amps that he's used in the past few years. He's got the small guy that he was using 2019, 2020. He's got the bigger Mesa amp from like 2021, 2022, and then he's got the more recent, like, kind of more tray setup. So I don't know, like, whether there's like a mix of signals from all of them or he switches between them. But his tone sounded really good last night to my ear.
Yeah, I mean, it was like shifting a lot. There was like a point in the jam that preceded
Electric
Avenue, where he sounded like full on Schofield. Like, you could like blink close your eyes and listen and like just hear Schofield and not Rick. So I thought that was pretty awesome. But yeah, I mean, everybody, on the Trevor being the MVP thing, I think Ben had a spectacular night. I think Peter had a spectaculer night. I mean, they were all on. I think Jive would laugh at us if he was here, but they were on.
Precision.
It was, precision.
Well, let's talk about this Earthling or Alien, because, second immediately huge jam of the night. Another one where it just felt like Rick was just intent on jamming. Like, there were a few times last night where it's like, we're going to jam this for another 15 minutes. I don't care if, the idea doesn't take hold right away. We're going to go until it does, which is amazing, because that's the kind of thing that we want to hear from them right now, because, they're still searching for where they're going to, like, what their jamming style is going to be. Like, there's so much territory for them left to explore at this point. And so they need to have these kind of more experimental jams where they're just like, we're going to jump off the deep end and we're going to, go for a while and see what happens. And this jam was so cool. More amazing Trevor, that octave up, like, like sharp sound from Rick. I loved it. It was in heaven.
Yeah. So this was my Goosemas Wish song that I didn't get, and they gave it to me last night. So
nice.
Thank you guys. I mean, I love this song. I've been waiting to see it live because, it just gets everybody fired up, and I loved it. So didn't write any notes on this one. I guess I was too much in the zone, but yeah. It was what did it clock in at, Ryan?
18, I think it was, Neil.
Yeah, something like that.
That sounds right. Steve, what about you?
No, I was just this is another example where I was like, just like felt like my jaw was on the floor with kind of where they were going within the instrumental sections. I mean, they pushed the envelope as much as they could, to your guys' earlier point, seemingly to me. With Rick just sitting there wanting to just constantly stay improvising all the time. It just felt like that was clearly the aim in songs like that. And I get into that a little bit more later on in the second set. There was some like otherworldly stuff happening in that Drive song.
Oh yeah. This ERA, there is a section in this ERA that is just outrageous. Occasionally, Goose will do this, where it doesn't sound like multiple instruments playing on the stage. It all just kind of sounds like this enormous like wave of sound. And there's about a 1 minute segment in there that's just ridiculous. And like probably my favorite 1 minute segment of jamming the whole entire night, where it's just, I mean, they just tap right into some kind of cosmic magic, and it is wonderful. Really, really killer jam. And, you know, I'll just keep saying it because there are a lot of people out there who don't like Earthling or Alien. This is an amazing song, and it is now a jam vehicle.
Yeah.
And you're going to get good stuff every time they play it. So
the haters
stop
are
being a hater.
shambles.
The haters are in
They're in
shambles.
shambles.
I mean, after the Chrysalis or thing, you know, it's just like,
yeah, it's been opening up
took
a
it
lot
to a new
more
place.
recently. And yeah, I'm excited to see where they keep taking it. You know, if it's going to continue going in this direction, which it seems to be. So set closes with So Ready, hot as always. Nothing crazy exciting about this. But let's dive into this set 2 here. You know, we open up with this Wisteria, and to me, it immediately became apparent, like, you know, the jams in the first set all were very purposefully dark and like evil. The jams in the second set mostly went towards a more major key, like a lighter motif, especially like, you know, this hot Wisteria. You know, Rick destroyed the first section of it. And then it just like, as the peak faded, immediately without hesitation, they go into this very different gear where it's just like, you know, a nice afternoon, like sun's out. And I really, really enjoyed, you know, the shift in the energy in the room as well, going from, because, you know, the crowd energy is very different during a jam like that Earthling versus a jam like the second half of this Wisteria.
Yeah, that Wisteria jam. I love those Blissey Wisterias. If you think about early 2021 and Sewanee Wisteria, and then also the Wisteria at Caverns, also have these very like major key Blissey segments. So excited to hear that again. You know, I'll take my Wisterias like that. They don't all have to be, you know, San Fran Wisteria, but I mean,
it'd be nice.
I mean, it would be nice. It would be nice, but those Blissey Wisterias are cool, and those Blissey themes, like you said, kind of show up all over this set. And yeah, unique shift and interesting, because if you think about kind of how last year went, the beginning of the year was very dark, end of the year was very Blissey, and then you actually have that in 2 sets tonight. Some kind of nice symbolism there.
Steve, why don't you start us off with this Wisteria?
Yeah, I think I was going to say the same thing about how, you know, when you in 2022, when you in the first month of the year you put up that San Francisco Wisteria lane, it's like there's going to be a lot of fans out there that kind of, they understand that you're not going to hear that version again, right? The same way you heard it, but like people kind of set that expectation in their minds and say, okay, well, this is what I want to hear, or what I think I want to hear. But yeah, last night, I think I kind of had that thought because I had, you know, listened to myriad versions of Wisteria, but have never seen it live, right? So I was in my head trying to piece together what I thought I would hear. And of course, they completely went against that grain. And it was the first time that I'd heard, or really kind of really tapped into hearing the blissful tones and like the happy Wisteria that we got, and then we would later get in Drive. But yeah, it's just like I said, each song, each jam kind of seemed to top the next as the night progressed. It's just I had a feeling of how can this keep getting better? Well, shut up, it is. Let's just keep listening.
Josh?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I was surprised, taken aback that they opened with that. Like, I had this whole theory about what the first night of a 5-night run might have.
Yeah.
For some reason, thinking like the big ones like that were going to be saved. So it took, you know, I was just like, holy shit. But yeah, it's such a good song. I mean, it's like I was fortunate. I was at San Francisco. I was at the Goose one. And it's just like every Wisteria, it's just like the way they're able to consistently do something interesting and just awesome with that song. It's just like, it's just one of those, just happy you get it when you're there. So
yeah, on Josh's note too, like I had that same thought where like I had some ideas about how these sets were going to be, these two sets, and I didn't think they were going to start emptying the tank. And then this, after playing All I Need in the first set, and then this Wisteria in the second set, it's like, well, there they are. Those are the two big time bangers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like, what's going to happen? And then of course,
then they played Doobie Song.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I love this doobie in this spot. This doobie's great here.
It's great placement for it.
It's an awesome cool down song, I think. And it's a huge rarity. So that's like another rarity that you're getting in the show now that Jive 2 over the last year has become that, right? I mean, this set list was filled with like huge jams and like really nice treats for people. And you get this Eurosian later in the set, which is like really great. And but yeah, back to talking about the jams here.
Well, let's talk about the jam, the 29-minute one. This drive, oh my god, like
that was insane.
Again, another one of these things where like Rick just didn't want to let go of the themes, like that solo. That if you go back, even a year or two, like that, like quick little solo before where they used to do the O's, it used to be like 30 seconds maybe. I have no idea how long last night's was. I haven't re-listened to that part of it yet, but like it felt like it was just like Rick just kept peaking it and peaking it and peaking it, and just Peter's guitar in like underneath Rick's soloing was so good, and the tones, and it was just I was very happy during that. And that's like before they started jamming even.
Yeah.
It was hot. What? So
yeah. Well, I'll just going back to my notes. Drive highlight so far, and that was the last note of the night. So it was the highlight.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, such like that song. I mean, the Goose one like was the first time I saw it, and it just took it to another level for me. And last night it was, it's the energy it brings from the crowd. I mean, those guys, and then you just keep coming back to it. It's like it's so good.
This is a good point by Came to Play. For those in the venue who knew where to look for Bruce, he was in a box, Peter side, and he was very happy during this drive. If you knew where to look, he was very emphatically waving at the stage.
Okay, now I know who that is because he kept being like, go, I was like, okay, Bruce. I got it. All right, cool.
Yep.
That was great. Steve, what did you think?
Man, Drive, highlight of the night for sure. Couple quick thoughts. One was it just seemed like Rick was going to solo where he usually doesn't solo in that song. Like, there'd be times it looked like they were going to go back into like that kind of Link section, the slow Link section before the funky riff, but he kept soloing on it and not stopping. And I love that. And that middle, I want to say it was the middle section, the light airy section, that gave me, it's not the same as this, but it gave me like a similar feeling to the 1230 Arcadia, where you're just like, where did this come from? And like the intro to the Arcadia in 1230 was just, it seemed like a different set of guys up there. I mean, obviously we know these guys can play any genre they want, but like, it just seemed like it just was the opposite of the expectation, right? It was like what you think you are going to see or hear, and they always flip the script. And I just was like, I was enthralled by that middle section.
Yeah, I mean, that was an amazing centerpiece on 29 minutes of really, really excellent jamming. I mean, it had it all. I mean, Rick was absolutely just blowing my mind. And then the section that you're talking about, the thoughts that I had, and then when I re-listened today, it reminds me, it was on the edge of kind of sounding like almost like Legend Valley Creatures, where it gets like this beautiful blissy segment. But like listening, when you listen to that, your ears are drawn to the lead instrument. So you want to listen to Rick, and Rick was doing an amazing job. But if you shift your focus and listen to Peter, I mean, it's amazing. Whatever he was doing was absolutely gorgeous. And
he was on guitar.
And he was on, well, I mean, you know how I feel about two guitar Goose. I mean, it's my favorite.
How we all feel.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, the other kind of cool thing about this, and we kind of joke about the indie groove thing all the time, like that is like a super indie rock groove that he had going on under that, which is like really, you know, unique for like jam bands. So I thought that was absolutely killer. And man, I can't wait to listen to it again. I listened to it just about like 20 minutes ago before we did this. And when we're done for my last half hour of drive before I get to New York, I'm going to listen to it again because it's just, I mean, man, it just has everything. And then when you think it's about to resolve and be done, you get more.
Yeah, well, Rick brought it out of that Bliss section, and he was like, they could have ended it there, but he's like, no, we're gonna throw the second jam in here too. Like, why not? Like, not even having done the proper first jam, he brought it back around to the song, and then went off in the second jam, and then that was another Ben Atkin clinic.
Ben Atkin showtime. Yeah, I was just about to say that. Holy shit, man! Putting on a clinic. It was absolutely outrageous.
Yeah. Peter getting in with more of these synth textures. As I said after listening to the Okeechobee show, and again, I was thinking all last night, he's clearly spent some time with that Prophet synthesizer over the last couple of months because he's doing some crazy stuff on there. We didn't mention, but I think it was in Earthling that we got the sirens.
Yes. I mean, there were sirens throughout the night, though. I mean, he was
all over that.
There were
different kinds of sirens.
Yeah, there were. He didn't do like that typical loop. Like he had like a sine wave thing going on for a bit. And I forget what song that was in, but that was more synth than I think I've ever heard from Peter in a show. Yeah. Maybe. I don't know. That might be hyperbole.
I think it was more prevalent in a lot of spots.
Yeah, man.
What did you guys think of the second half of this drive?
I don't know. That was another moment where I think I was just sitting there, awestruck. It just kept coming, especially in that number. I was like, how long have they been playing? I mean, it felt like, in a good way, like forever, but it felt like it had been all night. And I didn't expect it from that song of all songs that it is a nice jam vehicle drive, but I didn't expect anything I thought I expected. I should not have had the expectation because it was changed.
Well, there we go. And it's just a really, really, really incredible jam and loose ends tease / ending for good measure.
Yeah, that's a tricky one. They
didn't sing it, so it's not a full performance of loose ends.
Yeah, I guess. I mean,
but more than a tease.
It's like okay, are you gonna like Rosewood Echo argument this again, Neil?
No, I want to make the point.
This is the 1 year anniversary of that, so maybe it's time to let it go.
Yeah, maybe it's time we talk about it. I mean, I think that's my role in this podcast anyway. So it's just a complaint about things. So I mean, that is about as much of loose ends as you're ever gonna get without them just saying like a couple note or a couple lines. But
so
really cool. I mean, this is another nugget though in the set. Like such a well-written set list. Like they thought about this.
Yeah.
And then, of course, what comes next is yet another thing that was a very, very thoughtful addition to the set.
Mm-hmm. Banger Yeti.
Like just out of nowhere. Well, that one actually I forgot. So the Yeti, that was audible, right? That was just kind of thrown in there. There was supposed to be a flea somewhere in the neighborhood. No, it was supposed to be there. It was supposed to be right after.
I thought Flea was supposed to be the second song of the set. Let me consult.
I thought it was Drive then
picture.
Flea,
it was supposed to be Drive, Flea, Wisteria, Eurasian Pancakes. You are.
Yeah, take that, Ryan. Okay. But yeah, I mean, that was fun.
Yeah,
pretty cool.
Absolutely, it was. But yeah, the Yeti Eurasian, pair to close the set. I liked it. I probably would have inverted them if I were in charge of writing the set list, just because I feel like Yeti is obviously it's more of an exclamation mark.
Yep.
But man, the way that Peter's Vintage Vibe sounds in that room and the way it sounded during Eurasian last night, like just the way the vibrato, because I was standing more towards the middle, so I could hear the vibrato going back and forth from left to right. And it was amazing. Amazing.
Hey, yeah, just backtracking to Earthling Aurelian too. I mean, holy smokes, man! And there, the vintage vibes sounded insane. Like on the recording, it sounds really good. I was blasting it in the car on the way in. It's pretty great.
Just right, Josh. We'll get to you in a sec. Just for the record, came to play. Auld Lang Syne is historically played without the lyrics in that context, but anyway, that's not relevant. Josh, talk about the.
Well, did you guys at the end of your ocean? Did it look like they weren't sure if they were done or not to you guys?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought.
Peter wanted
I
to
think
go.
it was maybe a like, are we gonna non-core it or are we gonna walk off and walk back?
Right, because I think the clock creeped up on them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and you said the Rin set list was Drive, Flee, then Wisteria?
Yes.
Dang. Well, that would have been interesting.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm very happy with what we got. And then the Pancakes encore was excellent. Very just explosive Rick. Once again, like Guitar Hero Rick. Just like, these builds that he kept going on. Like, he was like, they were like grinning at each other as they did these again and again and again, like up to the huge finish. So I think it was a great pick to close the show. Bob Don encore, interesting encore pick, which was what was on the written set list. So I'm curious, what we see popping up there tonight. But Steve, what did you think of the ending of the show?
Man, well, first I have to shout out the ending section of Yeti where Peter was playing after the bass riff happens, Peter was playing his main guitar part there, but everybody else seemed to be in halftime feel, which was awesome. Hearing that live, because it was just a nice kind of, I don't know, juxtaposition of the melody there. With, I don't know, halftime. I don't know. I just like that stuff when they change it up on us. And then with the encore, it was really cool to see Peter just kind of shred on guitar, because Chris and I were sitting there thinking to ourselves, man, how many times now have we listened to Goose on, whether it's on Nugs or on Bandcamp or whatever, and we just assume Rick is shredding when that probably was Peter, depending on the song. Like,
the Yeti, yeah.
I've never seen them. I don't think I've seen them even a video clip of Pancakes before. So listening to it, I'm probably thought that was Rick the whole time. But
Peter does play keys in Pancakes. You're probably thinking of Yeti, where he was on guitar.
Oh, that was him at the end of Yeti then. Was when he was on the ground, just like going hard. Sorry, apologies. Yes, the Yeti, but that was incredible to see him go, because once again, I just think it's Rick, because Rick's always on the guitar. So it was cool to see Pete show his chops.
Yeah, it was great. Great ending to the show.
Yeah, it was really.
I mean, in terms of like encores, that is an atypical Goose encore, right?
Yeah.
You're not usually getting something like a Pancakes. And, interesting, Josh, that you brought it up, that it looked like some of them were kind of wanting to stick around. From where I was sitting, it looked like Peter wanted to stick around and Rick wanted to walk off the stage. But let's say, hypothetically, had they non-cored that, non-core, just for those at home who don't know the non-core, is when they just like outright skip the encore and say, like, we're just going to play all the way through to curfew. And had they gotten those extra few minutes of Pancakes, oh man, that would have been absolutely outrageous. Really, really cool. So, and I think this Pancakes as like an encore in the encore slot is going to, for a while, kind of keep this show pretty high up in the ranks of like really good shows out of the year, because it's so well thought out, this whole entire show.
Yeah. Agreed. Well, that brings us to the end of talking about last night's show. Josh and Steve, thank you guys so much for being on today. We really appreciate you guys coming on the pod. Hope to catch you guys at a show soon. And obviously, we'd love to have you back on at some point.
Yeah,
definitely.
Thanks. See you tonight, Josh.
Have a great rest of your day. Well, before we go, do a little bit of fantasy talk. Neil, would you like to start by saying how many points you got in Fantasy Goose last night?
Well, last season I won.
But that's not what we're talking about here. So how many points did you get?
I actually haven't really looked. I think it's like 3 or 2 or something. I got absolutely destroyed.
2 points.
2 points. All
right.
Well, so you've done the homework.
As we said, I love gloating when you do terribly in Fantasy Goose, because I know in the second half of the tour you're going to come back and win anyway, as you always
guess
do,
what?
because you're a scumbag.
Tonight is going to be a repeat of performance for me. Like, I was thinking about my picks, and oh boy, I mean, especially after the set list that they wrote last night. I mean, they are carefully selecting from their catalog. They are ignoring any kind of like cadence in songs, I think. So all bets are off. They're doing their best to write really good set lists. So, would it be outrageous for them to play like a Bob Don and Lily's Tiger tonight? Nope. I don't think so.
Oh, I would love a Lily's Tiger.
Yeah,
but
I want it.
Want to congratulate Call Me Doc Brown on their first Golden Goose win last night, a whopping 28 points, 26 more than Neil got. If you, for those of you keeping track at home, I put up 17. Very, very happy with that. I won the Always Almost There contingent last night. But everybody, you've got a few more hours to get your picks in for tonight. Lots of things on the table. Obviously, the picks are only going to get easier as the run goes on. But I feel like tonight, it's, you don't. Okay.
I don't think it's going to get easier.
Or don't. But I feel like it hasn't really gotten easier since last night. Like, last night didn't really make it that much easier. Like, obviously there are songs that they're not going to play tonight, but there are so many songs in their catalog now that it's hard to know what they're going to go for.
I'm excited. I'm excited for the next however many days. I'm excited for tonight because I'm going to be there. I'll be hanging out with you. If you're listening or watching the pod right now, come say hi, please.
Yes.
Come say hi. We don't have anything to give you. We don't have slaps. Do you have slaps?
I do not.
Right.
Yeah,
we don't have anything. We'll give you a high five
floating around, but we will give you a high five, a hug, a handshake, whatever. But yes, if you see us at the show the next few nights, come say hi, please. Well, we'll let you get back on the road because you need to get here for the show. I do. But thank you, everybody, for watching this episode of Day After Show. We will be back here that did not come out properly. We are going to be back right here, same time, same place tomorrow to recap tonight's show. So, and with different guests, we've got very exciting guests, very vibe-centric guests tomorrow, if you will. I'll leave that out there, but they're going to be good vibes on the pod tomorrow. So a couple of good friends coming on. It's going to be fun. But yes, enjoy the show tonight, whether you're there or at home, and we'll see.